The One Network podcasts, live from London, are sponsored by Lamarki Luxury Travel. Specialising in bespoke luxury holidays for over 30 years with the very best local concierge and property managers to look after your every need, Lamarki provide the very best in exclusive holiday destinations in Saint-Tropez, Sardinia, Tuscany, the French Riviera, and more. Lamarki offer a unique service to enable clients to enjoy single or multi-destination holidays and will take care of your every need, from arrangements with limousines, yachts and helicopters to bodyguards, chefs, butlers, nannies, and club and restaurant reservations. If you would like to find out more about the stunning array of bespoke Lamarki holidays, you can visit www.saintropezluxury.com.
Come down because the technology will increase the energy density of the specific batteries, and it will also mean that new materials will be able to be used in these batteries, not such precious metals. And on top of that, recycling or upcycling these precious metals from other sources, other batteries, catalytic converters and the like, will also help bring the cost down and offset demand from these batteries. Supply chain is something else. Lord, God forbid there be another corona or another cousin of corona or anything like that. But I do believe we need to localize our supply chains as much as possible. We need to localize our supply chains as much as possible, not just for these metals, but for all our natural resources, to minimize any potential problems that may occur, like with Corona, like with Brexit, like with the Suez Canal, and Corona breaking out in China, or different strains of Corona, or the cousin of Corona, or the grandchild of Corona. You know, I need to stop saying that word. So yes, the future's bright, the future's electric, with a dash of hydrogen.
Lovely. Just for our lovely listeners, because again, I pressed the button, I pressed start, and we had a little chit chat, and we didn't explain where we all were. Gianfranco is very quiet when he speaks because he's in the Alps, very quiet near the Alps, in the mountains. Joseph, it's quite noisy when you talk. Where are you? Just so our listeners know, because I know where you are, I can see you.
I'm in a VW 1970s camper van. My workshop is very, very loud. Engines running, petrol engines. We've stopped doing diesel. The last diesel engine we replaced is this week. It's going out. No more diesel. We are implementing these hydronium fuel cells to reduce emissions by up to 80-90% on petrol and diesel vehicles, but we won't be doing it on the diesel. And we are moving forward with our electric conversion. So now I'm down the road under something called the Westway, which is the A40 motorway through central London from White City to Edgware Road. And you know what? Let me see. I'll flip the camera around. So this is the camper van, the interior. There's a cooking sink. There's a rock and roll bed that comes out and it makes a sofa. The sofa turns into a double bed. There's another double bed on top where the pop top goes up, and this roof material becomes a tent. And here is, I'm right with the client's Beetle. We've just done the start motor. That one's had a new engine. And over here is the Wall of Truth, the Grenfell Tower Wall of Truth. The garage, the workshop is just behind. The workshop's down there, and there's the Grenfell Tower just behind the workshop.
Really nice. So I'll leave the editing up to my team. But basically, you are in a very busy. You're in your garage, aren't you? Jack's garage in West London, and that's why if anyone can hear any noise in the background, we've grabbed you. You're a very busy working man, and we appreciate every minute that you've given to us today. So thank you, Joseph.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Kevin.
Franco, Franco, I was actually my next question was going to be about recycling of batteries. And I guess how long do the batteries last and what happens when they're recycled? But in many ways, you've already answered that in the last question, in that you were looking at upcycling them and circular economy and such things. So I'm not sure if there's anything to add to what you've already said on my specific question, but I know the use of blockchain is coming in to so many areas, but in batteries, and being able to check each battery and where it is and how it's how the earths are mined in the first place, but then what batteries it goes into and how it's recycled and all of that area. But is there anything you want to add about that recycling process? And likewise, Joseph, do you have any other comments about cycling and recycling and how long batteries are expected to last? Because along with range anxiety, that is one of the areas that some potential owners of electric cars are thinking, well, how long do the batteries last? How much are they going to cost me to replace? And those sort of questions.
Speaking for myself, of course, I have on my electric car, I have now, by the way, it is actually a plug-in, a range extender plug-in hybrid car. It's the Fisker Karma, which was the company I co-founded in 2007 in California. And my car is 10 years old. It's a 2011 Fisker Karma. And the battery pack is 20 kilowatt hours, which gave me roughly 50 miles of range. And then, eventually when the battery is deployed, then the combustion engine is kicking in, generating electricity. So my battery is 10 years old and still has a state of health of 85, 86%. So it only has 14% less range than originally, but that's not too bad for me in this case. So I see it by myself with the use of my personal car, and I have seen people with the first generation Nissan Leaf, which is I think a 2010, 2011 Nissan Leaf. Coming back to where we have a center where we are going to, take the batteries and check the batteries and see if we can do the Second Life project or if we need to recycle. And it's amazing that 90% of these batteries are still kept inside the car, even after 10, 11 years. And I'm now talking about the Nissan Leaf. And I think similar goes for the Renault Zoe, which were, a combined Renault-Nissan project. I think they did a lot of the research and study together, the two companies, and they were already big in the 2010, 2011 years into electric mobility. So I see these coming back for the first time, still being good enough to continue their life inside the car, but most of the people want to trade with a new car and a bigger battery. So in this case, we bring it to the Second Life, and I give you an information about where is that then going. So Nissan did a project in Amsterdam, in Holland, and I think it's called the Amsterdam Arena, where they have the football matches. They have the generators, where the diesel generators they had were replaced by those batteries. I think they used hundreds of these batteries to store the energy. They have solar panel on the roof, and the excess energy is going into the batteries. And eventually, if they need extra power, they use the extra power that is going from the former Nissan Leaf batteries out to wherever they need the energy. So there are already examples where you can see where we can use it. And so only then, eventually, after so many years being used in the Second Life application, we really need to take care. And I know a process which is the one of VW that they have in Salzgitter in Germany. They have a recycling plant that they are using for test purposes, where they are already achieving more than 90% recycle capability of what is used today. So as I told you a little bit before, we need to engineer the battery in such a way that we can recycle 100% possibly. So it has to go into the engineering process, because we were not used to engineer something also for the life after being used in a certain vehicle, right? So we need to think about the whole process through and through to get really to the circular economy. And I think we are I'm positive on that. I see everyone is very keen to this technology. And also I see for myself, speaking for my project, that I'm in constant contact with SPACs, the special purpose acquisition companies in the USA, and investment funds, that to be green is king. They want to know, how are you going to solve this problem? How are you going to recycle? How are you going to use the battery? Are you using cobalt? You don't use cobalt. What are you using instead of cobalt? So they do all these questions, which were not made a couple of years ago. Nobody cared, and now everyone cares. And it's a good sign. I love it. I really love it, and because I'm 100% sure this is the way to go.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you.
Welcome.
Sorry, it wasn't even my question, but thank you. Well, lastly, so thank you so much. So I won't take up too much more of your time. Lovely, Joseph, would you like to say something?
Yes, please. Yeah, I've got to agree with everything Franco said. But what I'm doing is using Volkswagen components from the factory in Volkswagen Group Components to electrify classic vehicles. So we are a part of a pilot project by Mr. Dees, the CEO of the Volkswagen Group. But what Franco's doing is far more exciting. He's making cars from scratch from his own company, and it's a spectacular car. And when Franco was talking, if you don't mind, Franco started with the spectacular and the stunning Fisker Karma, which isn't relatively well known, but it's a stunning vehicle, genius engineering. But what's even more genius, Franco, if you wouldn't mind telling us something about you remember the Fiat 500 that you were telling me you did the first electric that you did. That's really awesome. I love that story.
What's this?
Well, I had to import the Fiat 500, the first Fiat 500 from California. Nobody knew in Europe that actually Fiat was making this car since 2014. So officially Fiat launched the electric 500 last year, okay, in 2020, end of 2020 actually. So I had to import, and I was a so-called gray importer. That means that I wasn't officially appointed by Fiat to do it. So I did it in parallel, and I was then increasing the range, increasing the size of the battery. I reutilized the original battery, and actually I gave it to someone that is using the old version of the Fiat 500 battery for his solar panels at home. Actually, he has a farm. Okay, so I was showing how we can use what is maybe no more up to date, and we're going, of course, to update with a better battery. But still, the car is good, so we can keep the car, update the battery, and use the old battery to do energy storage, like my friend in a farm nearby. So today, my old battery is storing energy from a solar panel production. I think this is just one example, but there are absolutely many.
That's funny. That's funny. Great story. Thank you. Well, lastly, what I will do then is I'll just put two final questions to you both, if I may. So Franco, you recently, I sent you some pictures. But you saw me as well. But I recently sent you some pictures where I was sitting in the, forgive my pronunciation, your English is far better than my Italian, the Battista Pininfarina.
Bravissima, molto bene.
You understood, that's great.
Yes.
And the gentleman who was with the car, I mentioned that I knew you, and I mentioned who you were, and he said competition is good. So my last question to you is, what are your plans for any future models after you have released the beautiful Fulminia?
You know, first thing, I think what I'm focusing is to get this 61 cars out, the 61 Fulminia, because as I told you, mentioned before, I turned 60 a few days ago, which means that I'm born in 1961. That's the reason why we are going to do and produce 61 cars, because the number 61, after I sold 60, will be mine.
Right.
So yeah, that's the trick. How can I afford a 2 million euro car if I don't have the money? By selling 60 cars, and then number 61 will be mine. So this will be 3 years of work, I think. I'll be honest, I hope that Salon Privé is going to provide me the first couple of orders, right? And Emma, you're going to help me, right? And Joseph and Kevin, I know you will all assist me in the process. And we have a 4-seater, which we envision to see in coming and producing in 2025. It will be a luxury 4-seater. It will be not really an SUV. It will be a crossover. So, you know, smaller in terms of size of a full SUV. It will be something in between, but definitely a 4-seater, very, very fast. And I saw the pictures of my designers just yesterday, because we had a design meeting yesterday. And I tell you, it looks, I will, if you promise me that you're not going to share with anybody, I will drop you a couple of these pictures in our WhatsApp group. So it's,
oh dear.
I promise. I'll sign an NDA.
Okay, it's for your eyes only. And then you're telling me if you like it or not. Honestly, I want to have your honest answer, guys. And think about, yeah. and think about, this is the outlook, how we see the 4-seater in 2025. So it might be like our, you know, the company's name is Automobili Estrema, like extreme automobile. So it's going to be extreme in these terms as well, in terms of design. You haven't seen something like this, honestly. And so you have to think not as today, 2021, but you have to think forward in 4 to 5 years from now. And then you give me your thumbs up or thumbs down. Honestly, I want to have your honest answer, please.
We were saying, Joseph, weren't we, that we just love to look at the Fulminia. And actually, if you have a poster, can we buy it? We put it on our wall.
I send you a file which will cost you nothing, and then you just print it somewhere in London.
I will. Thank you.
I send you a high definition file, so that also if you wanted to have it in a bigger size, it's not going to be with the little squares, you know.
Beautiful, thank you. And I'll frame it and we'll put it up. Lovely.
And
thank you.
I see that someone is left out from the WhatsApp group and wants to be right, Kevin?
Me, please.
Okay. We put you in, Kevin. You're in.
We will. We promise.
You're welcome.
If Emma, you send me Kevin's number, I'll put him on the group.
I will do. I think you want me to send you something. Your bandwidth went then, but I will. I'll send it over, Joseph. I will. Joseph, are you still with us?
If you send me Kevin's mobile number, I'll put it on the WhatsApp group. Sorry?
I might do. Maybe, maybe not. Depends, Kevin. Are you going to introduce me to your friends in Porsche? Otherwise, you can't join our WhatsApp group. So you can. Lastly, lovely Joseph, I would love to ask you, what are your plans for the future of classic EV conversions?
So they are big, and great man once said, if your dreams aren't big enough to scare you, they're not big enough. We are now creating a limited edition of 20 classic Volkswagen vehicles using the very latest Volkswagen electric vehicle components straight from the factory with a manufacturer's warranty. We plan to create a UK assembly facility for the UK supply and global export of classic vehicle conversion kits. We plan to create and establish a research and development facility in the UK in cooperation with Brunel and several other universities that will help us pool the minds, genius minds of professors and postgrad students to bring the UK up to speed in this area. And lastly, but certainly not least, is an upcycling facility. So people will be able to bring their classic cars that they don't want anymore, and they will be dismantled and stripped down, and all the parts that can be reused will be reused. And if the chassis, the body is sufficient and in good enough condition with minimal rust, basically, then that vehicle will be upcycled into an electric vehicle and electrified for resale to our most discerning clients, which will decrease the carbon footprint of vehicle manufacture dramatically, because to create a new vehicle generates a tremendous amount of carbon. So if we recycle the vehicles already on the road, then carbon creation is reduced dramatically. And on top of that, we plan to create and manufacture these range anxiety packs. That's last on the list, but still on the list. And yes, so basically electrifying the future cars, future electric cars for the future generations, of classic cars. So, electrifying classic cars for future generations. In 20, 30 years' times, as we mentioned at the very beginning of the interview, I believe most cars will be autonomous, and people won't have a car. Like Franco mentioned, people would rather have the latest iPhone. So only those with a significant amount of disposable income will be able to afford cars. And I believe they'll either go to these fantastic, super sexy supercars like Franco's Lightning Bolts, or they will choose to buy a classic electric car from the 50s or the 60s or the 70s, or very classic, you know? So it's either going to be supercar, classic car, both electric, or ride sharing. And who needs a car anyway?
Well, on that note, then I will say a very big thank you to everybody today. So thank you so much.
Great pleasure.
Franco. Yeah.
Great pleasure indeed.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Thank you so much, Kevin. And what a lovely positive note to end it on. It would seem that the future of electric vehicles is exciting, it's very sexy, it's very green, and it's very economical.
Specialising in bespoke luxury holidays for over 30 years with the very best local concierge and property managers to look after your every need, Le Marquis provide the very best in exclusive holiday destinations in Saint-Tropez, Sardinia, Tuscany, the French Riviera and more. Le Marquis offer a unique service to enable clients to enjoy single or multi-destination holidays and will take care of your every need, from arrangements with limousines, yachts and helicopters to bodyguards, chefs, butlers, nannies and club and restaurant reservations. If you would like to find out more about the stunning array of bespoke Le Marquis holidays, you can visit www.saintropezluxury.com.